Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, February 18, 2020. Join us for the next 45 minutes as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 monitoring centers nationwide and live via streaming worldwide through UNTV News and Rescue Facebook account and UNTVweb.com. I am William P.
And here are the headlines.
Doctors in Shanghai, China use plasma therapy to cure coronavirus patients, while a Wuhan hospital president dies of the infection. The Philippines lifts its coronavirus travel ban on returning domestic helpers hours after it was confirmed that a Filipino worker in Hong Kong tested positive for the virus. The Bureau of Immigration relieves airport terminal heads as the agency investigates the scheme that gives Chinese nationals easy access into the country for a fee. Solicitor General Jose Calida seeks a gag order on the Co-Warantu case against ABS-CBN. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV posts bail for the conspiracy to commit sedition charge filed against him by the government. And know the safest place when a global pandemic strikes.
Doctors in Shanghai are using infusions of blood plasma from people who have recovered from the coronavirus to treat those still battling the infection, reporting some encouraging preliminary results.
Meanwhile, a health official explains why the cure rate in the city of Wuhan is lower compared to other cities in China, as a hospital director in the coronavirus epicenter dies of the infection. Stephanie C. has this story.
Doctors in China's Shanghai city on Monday were preparing plasma infusions to treat patients infected with the new coronavirus, saying the method was showing good results in other cities like Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak. Lu Hongzhou, a professor and co-director of the Shanghai Public Health Clinical Center, said the hospital had set up a special clinic to conduct plasma therapy and were selecting certain patients who were willing to donate their blood for the project.
Recently, we launched this treatment, and very soon, patients will receive plasma infusions from those who have recovered. I believe the treatment will have a good effect, especially for patients in critical condition.
He said the clinic would screen the patient's blood to check for other infectious diseases like hepatitis B or C, and particularly preferred patients whose antibodies against the coronavirus were present in their blood when the virus was at an acute stage. Chinese scientists are testing 2 antiviral drugs and preliminary results are due in weeks, while the head of a Wuhan hospital had said plasma infusions from recovered patients had shown some encouraging preliminary results. Lu said the Shanghai hospital was also using traditional Chinese medicine combined with Western medicine to treat some patients, and that the treatment had helped to ease symptoms in 2 severe cases. He added that 90% of their patients had taken Chinese medicine. Meanwhile, a health official explained the large number of severe patients and insufficient medical facilities and staff are the reasons for a low coronavirus infection cure rate in central Chinese city of Wuhan, the epicenter of the novel coronavirus or COVID-19 outbreak. The proportion of patients cured from the disease in Wuhan was only 8.5% as of Monday, much lower than the national average of 15.37%.
The lack of emergency care facilities and insufficient pressure of oxygen supplies. In addition, it takes some time for medical teams from other parts of the country to get well coordinated. So in the early stage, the cure rate is not that high. In addition, the critically ill patients have been treated in hospitals for a very long time. So when these cases are counted, the curve of the cure rate must be elongated. But judging from the current situation, we can see the whole medical treatment is on the right track, and I believe it will show effect very soon.
我相信呢，这个效果会很快的显现出来。
Regulatory officials in China announced yesterday that they have approved the antiviral favipiravir for use in the treatment of the viral pneumonia, but this is not enough, according to Yahoo.
不仅仅是一个抗病毒药物的使用。
Antiviral drugs are not enough in treating severe patients because these patients not only suffer from lung injury but also damages to multiple organs, including heart, kidney, and liver. So in addition to the oxygen therapy and ventilatory support, we are taking various treatment measures like the prone ventilation and the CRRT, continuous renal replacement therapy, to remove toxins that cause kidney injury.
血液滤过。
Meanwhile, Liu Jiming, president of Wuhan Wuchang Hospital in Hubei province, died of the novel coronavirus pneumonia at 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, despite medical efforts, according to a report of China's Central Television. The hospital, which is located on Yangyuan Street in the city's Wuchang district, is a high-level hospital and one of the 7 designated hospitals for the epidemic treatment in Wuhan. Stephanie C., UNTV News and Rescue.
More than 300 American cruise ship passengers, including 14 who have tested positive for coronavirus, were being quarantined in the U.S. after arriving from Japan on chartered flights overnight. One sicker patient is getting a higher level of care at a hospital in Nebraska. Kath Dumaraos details why.
More than a dozen Americans evacuated on U.S. chartered flights from a cruise ship docked in Japan were being tested for the novel coronavirus at a Nebraska hospital. Those 13 individuals, among the 328 U.S. passengers of the Diamond Princess cruise ship docked in Yokohama, Japan, were flown at the University of Nebraska Medical Center Medicine. So far, they are only showing mild symptoms of the disease. One sicker person is getting a higher level of care at the hospital, which cared for Ebola patients in 2014.
Well, the patient who was transported to the biocontainment unit had some lightheadedness, had a mild cough, had a fever that was documented before landing, and also had a chronic condition which could complicate the issue if he were to test positive for coronavirus. And so as a precautionary measure, he was transported to the biocontainment unit for testing and also for observation to make sure his condition was stable and not deteriorating.
The cruise ship Diamond Princess, which with more than 400 cases has by far the largest cluster outside China, has become the biggest test so far of other countries' ability to contain an outbreak that has killed 1,770 people in China and 5 elsewhere. Although U.S. officials had said passengers with coronavirus symptoms would not be repatriated, 14 passengers found at the last minute to have tested positive were permitted to board the planes. The U.S. State Department said the infected passengers were kept in isolation on the flights. Some were being treated in Omaha and at facilities near Travis Air Force Base near Fairfield, California.
All of these individuals, regardless of whether they test positive or negative on the test conducted today, will be here for 14 days. Those that test positive and are ill could theoretically be here longer than 14 days, but each of the individuals who arrived today will be here for 14 days.
Meanwhile, health officials in China have published the first details of more than 70,000 cases of COVID-19 in the biggest study since the outbreak began. Research from the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or CCDC, found that more than 80% of the cases have been mild, with the sick and elderly most at risk.
The data also appear to show a decline in new cases. This trend must be interpreted very cautiously. Trends can change as new populations are affected. It's too early to tell if this reported decline will continue. Every scenario is still on the table.
Pointing out the risk for medical staff, the paper says that a total of 3,019 health workers have been infected, 1,716 of which were confirmed cases. And 5 had died by 11th of February, which was the last day of data included in the research. The findings put the overall death rate of the COVID-19 virus at 2.3%. In Hubei, the worst affected province, the death rate is 2.9%, compared with only 0.4% in the rest of the country. The WHO maintains its previous assessment that COVID-19 is not a global epidemic and will not raise the global risk level of the outbreak. China's latest official figures released on Tuesday put the overall death toll at 1,868 and 72,436 infections. Officials said there were 98 new deaths and 1,886 new cases in the past day. 93 of those deaths and 1,807 of the infections were in Hubei province, the epicenter of the outbreak. More than 12,000 people have recovered, according to Chinese authorities. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
Well, Filipino crew members of Diamond Princess cruise ship docked in Japan are expected to be repatriated, just like what other countries did for their citizens. The repatriation plan has yet to be finalized, but the Labor Department says assistance to secure their jobs are in place. Dante Amento tells us why.
The quarantine period of over 3,000 passengers and crew members of Diamond Princess cruise ship docked in Japan will end tomorrow, February 19. 538 Filipinos are among those on board the ship. Labor Undersecretary Attorney Ana Dionis says the repatriation will be done by batches.
Exact date hindi natin kayang sabihin yan sa ngayon, but we are hoping that within this month.
Upon arrival in the Philippines, those Filipinos will be automatically placed under a 14-day quarantine period by the Health Department. DOLE says assistance will be provided to the Filipino crew members. The Philippine Labor Attaché is coordinating with Japan authorities to assure the Filipino crew members can return to their jobs.
Katulad nga ng sinabi ko, tutulong ang DOLE dyan through our polo offices na i-secure yung kanilang trabaho. Now, kung magdesisyon sila, bumabalik o hindi, nasa kanila na yon. For those who will decide not to go back, andyan naman yung mga assistance in place na.
The country's Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases will announce the complete details of the repatriation plan soon. Dante Amento, UNTV News and Rescue, City of Manila.
Filipino workers returning to Hong Kong and Macau for their jobs are not allowed by the Philippine government to travel to the two destinations. Meanwhile, a Filipino worker in Hong Kong tests positive for COVID-19. Aiko Miguel explains why.
Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Brigida Dulay announced in a tweet this afternoon the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases has decided to allow Filipino workers in Hong Kong and Macau to travel back and return to their jobs. This means they are now exempted from the travel ban implemented in the two special administrative regions. However, they will have to follow procedures or procedural formalities to be imposed by authorities, as stated in USEC Dulay's tweet. Malacanang confirms the travel ban on Hong Kong and Macau for migrant workers has been partially lifted. Returning OFWs will be allowed to travel back to Hong Kong and Macau. But travel ban is still imposed on other passengers with outbound travel to the two destinations. Migrant workers will be required to submit a written declaration that they understand the risks and threats of the coronavirus disease 2019.
There has been persistent requests from the OFWs themselves. In fact, I received one call that he was fired. He is a family driver and he was fired from that position because he has not gone back. Maybe that's one of the reasons why.
Meanwhile, a Filipino worker in Hong Kong has tested positive for COVID-19. She is currently isolated and treated in Pamela Yud Another Seoul Eastern Hospital in Taiwan. Before that, her 67-year-old female employer had tested positive for the disease on February 13. Hong Kong as of today has a record of 61 confirmed COVID-19 cases. Here in the Philippines, based on the Health Department's report this afternoon, there are 527 patients under investigation in the country as of today. 137 of them are isolated and being treated in health facilities. 453 have tested negative for the coronavirus, and 22 POI samples still await results. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Meanwhile, Filipinos can now avail of more than 100 expensive medicines at lower prices beginning May. Meanwhile, the health department says pharmaceutical companies and pharmacies will also benefit from the price reduction of prescription medicines. But violators are warned they may face jail term. Aiko Miguel explains why.
99% of Filipinos are not capable of buying all of their prescribed medicines because of unaffordable cost. This based on a Pulse Asia survey in November last year. But come May this year, consumers will enjoy a 58% price reduction on 87 kinds of high-cost medicines in the country. Executive Order 104 on Maximum Drug Retail Price or MDRP will take effect 90 days after President Rodrigo Duterte signed the EO yesterday. The first tranche of its implementation will include 13 kinds of medicines for hypertension or high blood, 15 kinds of medicines for diabetes, 13 kinds of medicines for cancer and other medicines for heart diseases and chronic lung illnesses. In the second tranche, 35 more medicines will become cheaper upon approval of the Department of Trade and Industry. To sum it up, 122 medicines will be made budget-friendly for Filipinos. According to Secretary Francisco Duque III, the DOH will issue an order for the implementing rules and regulations of the executive order. The DOH chief also says they see 4 reasons why medicines in the country are overpriced.
Unang-una, limited competition, no? Pangalawa, yung disease burden, syempre yung demand mataas. So ang nangyayari, itinataas nila yung atin presyo mataas ng di hamak kumpara sa ibang countries, no? And the fourth will be yung mga patong throughout the supply chain from the manufacturer that also imports, and then from the wholesaler to the trader to the retailer, which includes the point of sale, the pharmacies and the hospitals.
The DOH will require pharmacies to post their price list visible to consumers. The price list will be their guide in buying medicines. Secretary Duque explains that the pharmaceutical industry will actually benefit from the price cap.
Sa volume, mababa yung kanilang kita, pero expanded ang volume. So pwede naman nilang mabawi yung kanilang profitability. But what is more important to us is that such high quality, ang mga dekalidad ng mga gamot ay pwede pong mabenepisyuhan ang mas nakararaming mga kababayan natin, lalo na po yung mga naghihirap.
Pharmaceutical company and pharmacy owners who will be proved to be violating the EO will be imprisoned for up to 15 years. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Many Filipinos are now expecting to extend their budget now that the Philippine government will begin to implement a price cap on medicines for common illnesses that include heart disease and major cancers. A health official says this move will greatly benefit those in and below the poverty line. Joanna reports.
Chayang Reyes has been suffering from hypertension and asthma for more than 10 years. With a number of medicines to take but with a limited budget, the 74-year-old says she's unable to buy all those prescribed by her doctor to treat her illnesses with.
Kasi nakumpay nga ako sa lung center dahil nawalan ako ng oxygen sa dugo. Sabi ng doktor, ito gawin, i-maintenance mo na lang itong seretide at saka yung mga kung ano-ano pang gamot, dami. Hindi ko na nagawa ngayon dahil sumobra na ang mahal. Hindi ko na mabili.
Chayang spends around 3,000 pesos a month for her medication.
Birong sa 3,000, ilang buwan niya sa isang taon. Wala naman akong trabaho. Ang inaasahan ko lang yung aking SS na 2,000. Kulang pa nga yun.
But with President Rodrigo Duterte's approval of Executive Order 104, which sets a price cap on some 87 high-cost medicines by up to 58%, many poor Filipinos are expecting they could now afford prescription medicines. The price cap covers medication of common illnesses among Filipinos, such as hypertension, diabetes, heart diseases, chronic lung diseases, and major cancers. With the price cap, Chayon can now save around 1,500 pesos, while diabetics who spend around 6,500 pesos monthly will save more than 3,000 pesos.
What is more important to us is that such high quality, ang mga dekalidad ng mga gamot ay pwede pong mabinipisyuhan ang mas nakararaming mga kababayan natin, lalo na po yung mga naghihirap.
The Department of Health and the Department of Trade and Industry will work hand in hand for the strict implementation of the price cap on medicines in hospitals, drugstores, and pharmaceutical companies. Johanaro, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Welcome back. President Duterte will not hesitate to stop the operation of Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGOs in the country if the payout scheme previously revealed in a Senate hearing is proven true. According to Malacanang, it is the Immigration Commissioner who must lead the investigation on the so-called Pastilla scheme. Rosalie Cos reports.
Malacanang ensures the government will act on reports of anomalies against several Bureau of Immigration personnel who allegedly accept bribes from Chinese workers who want to work for Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGO.
Any violation, any transgression, any anomaly, the palace frowns on it and will act on it. There are complaints formally filed before its office.
Dubbed as Pastilla scheme, the said bribery transactions were revealed through a Senate hearing. A Chinese national is given VIP treatment after paying 10,000 pesos to a Chinese travel agency. The money will then be distributed among several immigration officials working in Ninoy Aquino International Airport to facilitate the entry of the Chinese national to the Philippines. According to the palace, it is Immigration Chief Jaime Morente who should lead the investigation and take action on the matter.
The Immigration Commissioner is tasked to do his job, meaning apart from the usual governing his own territory, he has to know whether there are anomalies in his territory and respond to it.
5 immigration officials have been relieved from their posts due to command responsibility. They were given different assignments after the Senate hearing. This is not the first controversy that involves the POGO industry. There are also reports of prostitution and tax evasion against the industry. According to Malacanang, President Rodrigo Duterte will not hesitate to stop POGO operations if reports of anomalies are proven to be true, even if such move would impact the Philippine economy.
There is no sacred cow in this government. If it's against the interests of the people and general welfare, I'll stop it. This is the kind of president we have.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
After his arrival at the airport from an overseas trip, Antonio Trillanes IV went to a Quezon City court. The former senator says he is ready to face the cases filed against him by the Duterte administration. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
Antonio Trillanes IV immediately headed for Quezon City Metropolitan Trial Court Branch 138 around 11:30 a.m. today to post bail for the conspiracy to commit sedition case filed against him by the Philippine government. 10,000 pesos has been set by the court as bond money.
Tinanggap ko na ganito ang mangyayari pagka tumindig ka laban sa isang diktador kagaya ni Duterte. Ganito ang isa sa mga kakaharapin mo, no? At hindi tayo natitinig diyan kasi ganun talaga eh. Ganun yung role na ginagampanan natin. Dahil kung tatahimik po ako, wala na yan.
Trillanes and 10 others are facing charges of conspiracy to commit sedition due to their alleged link to the controversial Ang Totoong Narcolist video series. The former senator says this is just one of the 19 cases filed against him during the Duterte administration.
Itong huling kaso na ito ay panibagong proof or patunay dito sa continuing political persecution na ginagawa nitong Duterte administration laban sa mga kritiko at political opposition.
The former senator also has a challenge to those who conspired to file cases against him.
Sana lang itong mga gumagawa nitong mga kasong ito ngayon, itong mga nangaapi, sana wag rin kayo matakot balang araw kasi talagang hindi ko rin kayo titigilan.
When asked who these people are, Trillanes answered,
Si Duterte, yan, sila Bongo, yan mga yan, pasiga-siga yung mga yan. Ngayon, pag wala na yan sa pwesto si Duterte, tignan nyo mark my words, hindi yan naharap ng ganito.
Malacanang response to Trillanes' challenge.
We will not waste our time responding to nonsense. That's his problem.
Okay, sir.
We don't interfere with cases filed before the courts.
The arraignment and pre-trial of the case is set on March 17, 2020. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Several senators remain positive that the Senate hearing on the ABS-CBN franchise issue will continue. Meanwhile, Malacanang assures President Rodrigo Duterte will not use his office to stop ABS-CBN from continuing with its service. Arlene Delgado details why.
Although Solicitor General Jose Calida asked the Supreme Court to issue a gag order to prohibit parties and persons acting on their behalf from making statements on the merits of the ABS-CBN Co-Aranto case, Senator Grace Poe maintains the hearing will continue but on an earlier date. The lady senator is the chair of the Senate Committee on Public Services that will hear the franchise renewal.
Tuloy pa rin ang ating pagdinig. Wala namang dahilan para itigil natin. Oo, nag-file sila ng gag order. Pero kung pagbabasihan natin ang mga nakalipas na desisyon ng Korte Suprema, kinikilala nila kami bilang kapantay nila at kami rin naman ay kinikilala din namin ang kanilang kapangyarihan.
Other senators share the same sentiment.
I think it has to be established first before i-curtail mo yung freedom of expression ko, yung freedom for me to speak freely. I think there's no compelling reason right now to do that.
Hindi ko pa nabasa yung gag order, but the Senate can pursue the oversight hearing in light of its oversight function.
Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, a known staunch supporter of President Rodrigo Duterte, also supports to hear the network's franchise.
It concerns everyone, the public, di ba? So, hindi mo maiwasan pag-uusapan yan sa publiko. We have to give fair chance to everyone. Dapat malaman natin anong katotohanan. Pero pag sinabi mo na influence ako sa decision ni Presidente, sa ngayon may sarili kayong bias eh. Taga-ABS-CBN kayo, you're biased to your own company. Ako naman, I'm biased to my President.
Meanwhile, Senator Panfilo Lacson hopes the Supreme Court would not include Senate in the gag order. The senator says it is the resource persons who will be invited to the hearing that may be covered by the order. While for Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon, the petition cannot prevent the upper house of Congress from hearing ABS-CBN's issue. According to the senator, the SC also cannot prohibit persons to appear and testify before congressional inquiries in aid of legislation. SC spokesperson Attorney Brian Hosaka has clarified that senators are not part of the parties. Thus, the Senate can proceed with its hearings. The palace, for its part, supports the gag order petition.
Tama naman siya doon. Kasi parang nagiging emotional ang issue on this particular topic. If ABS-CBN has committed a criminal act, then the president will exercise his right and pursue a case against it before the courts. But he will not use his office to stop ABS-CBN from continuing with its service. That's for Congress to decide, not for him.
Arlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Philippine National Police leadership continues to show it is serious in its campaign against illegal gambling. In fact, civilian operators and even police commanders are now facing complaints for illegal gambling operations. Lea Ilagan tells us why.
The PNP Integrity Monitoring and Enforcement Group o IMEG destroyed 50 video Carrera machines with 30,000 pesos worth of coins. The police confiscated the machines in 4 days of operation in Caloocan, Mandaluyong, Muntinlupa, and Pasay cities.
May mga nakasuhan kaming mga civilian, yung mga operator, yung mga mayroong cashier na nahuli. Nakasuhan na namin actually yung mga PCP commanders.
The official warns police officers who protect illegal gambling operations. Deputy Chief for Operations, Police Lieutenant General Guillermo Eliazar says they are implementing a one-strike policy on police commanders in areas with illegal gambling operations.
Pag nag-operate ngayon ng IMEG or even itong mga units ng higher headquarters, relieve kagad yun. So 2 o 3 na PCP, Chief of Police. At kung 3 Chiefs of Police ngayon, isa pwede nang i-relieve yung Provincial Director or District Director and so on and so forth.
IMEG officials and personnel have signed a covenant of the no-take policy initiated by PNP Chief Police General Archie Gamboa. Lea Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Krame.
Authorities have put a stop to the pretense of an alleged new People's Army commander in Surigao del Sur. The arrested, who comes under several aliases, had introduced himself as a deputized officer of the DENR. But an environment official says that the suspect is not on their employee list. Tante Amento tells us why.
The Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines arrested an alleged high official of the New People's Army last Saturday. The arrested person was identified as Renan Cantos, alias Loki, Ronin and Sanjo, 30 years old, a resident of Poblacion, Marihatag in Surigao del Sur. He was seized on the National Highway in Sitio Tagmalinaw, Barangay Purisima, Caguait. Police Regional Office 13 spokesperson Police Major Rinel Serrano says Cantos is a former commander of Guerrilla Front 8 and Guerrilla Front 14 of the Northeastern Mindanao Regional Committee of the rebel group.
Na siya'y 10 ka mga standing warrant of arrest. So, kining mga kasuha, prostrated murder, multiple attempted murder, kidnapping and serious illegal detention, robbery with force and intimidation, kidnapping and serious illegal detention, o arson.
Serrano adds the suspect had introduced himself as a deputized Environment and Natural Resources Officer of the DNR.
So, gi-imbestigahan na ron sa PNP, how comes nga nahimo siyang empleyado sa DNR, local DNR dito sa Maong Lungsod, local DNR, pero makita mo gud nato permado sa Regional Director, sa Regional Executive Director sa DNR.
But DNR Caraga Regional Executive Director Attorney Felix Alicer clarifies that Cantos is not a DNR employee.
We found out that the subject ID was fake. Further, the signature appears somehow not similar to the signature of the undersigned. If I second page of the special order, this is my usual stroke of my signature, and you will notice a slight difference in this signature. Plus, per ID here, Renan was said to be a personnel of LGU Marihatag. In the special order prepared, it's not among the list.
With this incident, the DNR plans on tightening their background check on its employees. The suspect is now in the custody of the Caguait Police Station. Dantiamento, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Y News continues. According to estimates, the possible magnitude 7.2 earthquake will result in more than 30,000 deaths, about 14,000 serious injuries in people, and over 500,000 slight injuries.
To gear up its employees, UNTV News and Rescue conducts emergency preparedness seminars. UNTV News and Rescue also participates in the nationwide earthquake drills to practice the proper evacuation process. Large-scale earthquakes not only cause casualties but also huge damages to structures. But after an earthquake occurs, how can one determine if a building is still safe to occupy? The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, says the assessment process usually takes several days. But there's an instrument through which the effects of an earthquake on a building can be identified. An accelerogram or earthquake recording instrument can record the movement or shaking of a structure. Data gathered by this instrument enables a structural engineer to ascertain if it is safe to occupy the building after the ground shaking.
Una, maintindihan talaga natin kung ano yung loading ng mga lindol dito sa Pilipinas dun sa mga typical na building na tinatayo natin dito. Pangalawa, syempre gusto nating malaman din kung paano malayo ang disenyo ng inhinyero versus dun sa itinayong building. Diba? So, tinitingnan din natin kung ito ay, kumbaga, siya yung doktor, siya yung basihan ng doktor, which is yung engineer, para malaman kung ano yung kondisyon ng strukturang itinayo.
A memorandum circular released by the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, in 2005 provides guidelines for the installation of an earthquake recording instrument or accelerogram in public buildings as part of the National Building Code of the Philippines compliance. 3 accelerograms must be installed in buildings 50 meters high or 15 stories. 1 on the basement, another at the center of the building, and third one on the highest part of the structure. For buildings with no more than 10 stories, 1 or 2 accelerograms can be installed. In 2018, Quezon City passed an ordinance to establish a monitoring center for accelerograms in all private and public buildings in the city. But according to Attorney Mark Dale Peral, the officer in charge of the Department of the Building Official of Quezon City, they have yet to complete the installation of such devices in all government buildings in the city, which host a number of government offices like the Batasang Pambansa Complex and the Quezon City Reception House. There is an installed accelerogram under observation in their office made by Filipino inventors.
Marami na rin pong mga buildings ang merong compliance sa accelerogram. Pero iba po yung requirement ng DPWH sa Quezon City. Ito po yung inaayos pa natin para maging uniform po yung kung ilan ang instrumentong ilalagay at kung saan po sila ilalagay.
Filipino inventors from Asher Technologies Incorporated have already installed accelerographs on 28 buildings in the Philippines. Most of the installations are in Metro Manila, 1 is in Mindanao. Some of those are for testing purposes.
Paglalagay ng ganitong sistema para through the life of the structure na monitor natin kung nagkaroon ba ng impact, no, yung mga earthquake o minsan meron din hindi lang naman lindol, mga settlement, no, ng lupa, paggalaw sa lupa, at even yung tinatawag natin na wind load dahil sa mga malalakas na bagyo, nakaka-apekto rin po yan dun sa overall integrity, structural integrity ng ating buildings.
Dan Tiamento, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, Diego. The consequences of the coronavirus outbreak will be worse than expected for Apple. The tech firm has warned the global iPhone supply will be temporarily constrained while it resumes production. This report will tell us why. Apple said on Monday that it will not meet its revenue guidance for the March quarter due to the coronavirus outbreak affecting both production and demand in China. The company said that despite the fact that its production facilities in China have reopened, they are ramping up slower than expected. The company had forecast $63 billion to $67 billion in revenue for the quarter ending in March, ahead of estimates of $62.4 billion. Apple said that supply for its iPhones will be temporarily constrained as manufacturing facilities in China are still not operating at full capacity. Sales of iPhones were up for the first time in a year in the December quarter. It also said that store disruptions have affected its sales in China, with most stores either closed or operating at reduced hours. The outbreak is expected to pile pressure on China's economy, with companies struggling to restart production after an extended New Year holiday as supply chains from the car industry to smartphones remain disrupted. Analysts have estimated that the virus may slash demand for smartphones by half in the first quarter in China, the world's biggest market for smartphones. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue. The European Union has agreed to deploy warships to stop the flow of weapons into Libya. Meanwhile, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has pledged to continue the onslaught on the country's northwest, saying the war was not yet over, but a complete victory was in sight. Beverly Saison details why.
In Syria, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said on Monday his forces' rapid recent gains in their Russian-backed military offensive presaged the eventual defeat of the 9-year insurgency that sought to oust him from power. But Assad, in an appearance televised by state media, also cautioned that the conflict was not yet over. The renewed Russian-backed offensive aided by pro-Iranian militias to regain the last rebel bastion in the northwest of Syria was allowed Assad's forces to seize control of as much of the countryside near Aleppo and to push deeper into the rebel-held and densely populated province of Idlib. The offensive has uprooted hundreds of thousands of Syrian civilians who have fled towards the border with Turkey in the biggest single displacement of the 9-year-old war. In Ukraine demands that all those who were involved in the downing of an airplane over Iran are held accountable. Representatives of Ukrainian International Airlines, together with embassies and relatives of crew members who died in a plane crash, held a foundation stone laying ceremony for a future memorial at Kiev's Boryspil Airport. On Saturday, Canadian Foreign Minister François-Philippe Champagne demanded that Iran share its black boxes so that they can be examined by international authorities. The airliner was struck by a missile on January 8th, shortly after it left Tehran en route to Kiev. Iran admitted its forces had shut down the Ukraine International Airlines plane in error after initially denying it had a role in the incident. All 176 people aboard, including 11 Ukrainians, were killed. In Belgium, the European Union will launch a new naval and air mission in the eastern Mediterranean to stop more arms reaching warring factions in Libya, foreign ministers agreed on Monday after Austria lifted its veto. The decision marked a breakthrough after weeks of fruitless negotiations and warnings by EU Foreign Affairs Chief Josep Borrell that the bloc risked becoming irrelevant if it could not act, potentially leaving Libya's fate to Turkey and Russia. In a compromise to assuage Austria's concern that any naval mission could bring more migrants to Europe, EU ships will hail and inspect suspicious vessels in the eastern Mediterranean, where most arms smuggling takes place, away from migrant routes. EU Foreign Affairs Minister Josep Borrell said he hoped that EU operations could be patrolling by the end of March. At first, it would operate in international, not Libyan waters. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue.
Extinction Rebellion climate protesters dug up the lawn of Trinity College, Cambridge, as part of a week-long series of demonstrations in Britain's ancient university town. Meanwhile, Amazon boss Jeff Bezos has pledged $10 billion to help fight climate change. Jovic Burmas tells us why.
Extinction Rebellion climate protesters dug up the grass in front of the 16th century Great Gate, digging channels in the turf with shovels and pitchforks and planting Extinction Rebellion flags. Trinity College, Cambridge said it regrets the criminal damage done to its property. Extinction Rebellion says it wants non-violent civil disobedience to force governments to cut carbon emissions and avert a climate crisis it says will bring starvation and social collapse. Meanwhile, Amazon Chief Executive Officer Jeff Bezos will commit $10 billion to fund scientists, activists, nonprofits, and other groups fighting to protect the environment and counter the effects of climate change. Cutting emissions will be challenging for Amazon. The e-commerce company delivers 10 billion items a year, has a massive transportation and data center footprint, and has faced criticism from within its own workforce. Last year, Bezos pledged to make online retailer Amazon net carbon neutral by 2040, the first major corporation to announce such a goal, and to buy 100,000 electric delivery vehicles from U.S. vehicle design and manufacturing startup Rivian Automotive LLC. Some Amazon employees have urged him to do more to fight climate change. There have been walkouts and some staff have spoken publicly. Also, Bezos is financing the Blue Origin space program, criticized for its carbon footprint. The Bezos Earth Fund will begin issuing grants this summer as part of the initiative. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue.
A pitch-invading dog earned praise for its ball skills from a live TV commentator after it held up a play in a Turkish professional soccer match. With fans and security personnel looking on in amusement at the stadium in Istanbul, players and the referee in the First Division game struggled to win back possession from the talented Pooch. They sent off the uninvited guest by throwing the ball off the field for it to chase, but then it returned for a second appearance just as play resumed. Finally, a midfielder player carried the animal off the pitch. The home players won the game 2-1 over visiting players from northeastern Turkey in the league below the Turkey's Premier League. And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Kath Dumaraos, reporting live.
Drinking too much soft drinks is far from good for our health. But did you know that drinking even just one serving of soft drink a day could increase your risk of cancer, among other illnesses? This is why a health expert suggests a healthier alternative for your fizzy drink cravings. June Soriao details why.
You are what you eat. Therefore, it is important to eat good food in order to be healthy and fit. When a person gets sick, one way to find out the cause of the illness is lifestyle and food intake. Lito Mercado has been suffering from diabetes for 16 years now. At the age of 53, he admits his fondness for soft drinks.
Malakas akong uminom ng soft drinks dahil minsan yan na lang ang tubig ko sa maghapon. Minsan di nga ako nakakatikim ng tubig
Among the family members, Lito is the only one with diabetes. He even joked, perhaps he would have been a rich person by now if he had not drunk soft drinks every day. Now, he has to spend half of his income as a printing press owner for maintenance medication. According to Iris Cho, a physician with more than 2 decades of practice of traditional Chinese medicine and a professor of University of Makati for 2 years, excessive intake of soft drinks may result in not just diabetes.
It will develop into disease like the type 2 diabetics and heart disease. It will also cause some of the cancers. Yes, because cancer cells feed on the sugar and it will actually multiply the cells easily. So one of the worst side effects is it affects the kidney.
Kidney.
Yes, and the kidney it will also cause like disease like gout. Yes, like arthritis.
Dr. Cho adds that drinking too much soft drinks can also bring out adverse effects of a person's calcium intake, apart from osteoarthritis, gout, and arthritis, and among others. The Singaporean health advocate encourages the consumption of healthier alternatives just like buko or coconut juice. Studies show that coconut water contains vitamins, electrolytes, enzymes, amino acids, cytokines, and sugar. It is tasty, refreshing, and good for health. Jun Suriao, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Scientists have found that Australia is the best place to go to when a global pandemic strikes. What are the other parts of the world that, according to studies, are safe havens for humans? Nina Armilio has the details.
2/3 of the world's population could catch the coronavirus, which was first detected in Wuhan City, Hubei Province, China. So says an advisor to the World Health Organization, or WHO, Dr. Ira Longini. His estimate implies there could eventually be billions more infection than the current tally of tens of thousands. Quarantines may slow the spread, but the virus had the opportunity to roam in China and beyond. If a global pandemic occurs, which places are safe to seek refuge in? According to a Newsweek report in October 2019, scientists say that Australia would be the best safe haven where humans could survive and repopulate the planet. Australia, they say, is the best place to go when a global pandemic strikes due to its vast supply of energy and food. The country, which is itself a continent, is closely followed by New Zealand and Iceland. In terms of survivability, Malta, Japan, Madagascar, and Sri Lanka are also among the top places. Even islands in the Caribbean, including Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Cuba, and Jamaica. The list also includes Maldives and Fiji, which are popular tourist destinations. Even the Philippines made it to the list. But wherever you may be, a rich and prosperous country or otherwise, the absolutely safest place you can run to is the name of the Lord God.
Ang alam ko na lang na safe na lugar na matatakbuhan natin yung ating pagtitiwala sa Diyos. Sa Kawikaan 18:10, ang pangalan ng Panginoon ay matibay na muog. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. El nombre del Señor, Torre Fuerte. Yun po. Parang ang matatakbuhan mo lang ngayon na kung saan ka mayroong proteksyon ay ang pangalan ng Panginoon. Kaya po, napakaganda na mga kababayan na tayo'y mag-aral ng mga salita ng Diyos. Kung ayaw na ng buong mundo, kahit man lang ilan-ilan na mga tao, ay gumunita tayo sa Diyos dahil para naman tayo mailigtas doon sa mga dumarating na yan, mga kalamidad, mga iba-iba po yung mga panganib ngayon sa ating panahon. Sana ipag-adya ng Diyos tayong mga nakakaalaala pa sa Kanya sa mga bagay na yan.
Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue.
Those are the reasons behind the news. And before we close, we will recap with today's significant soundbites. I am William Theo.
And I'm Angelo Castro III, because we need to know. We will always ask why. Good evening.
There has been persistent requests from the OFWs themselves. In fact, I received one call that he was fired. He is a family driver and he was fired from that position because he has not gone back.
What is more important to us is that such high quality, ang mga dekalidad ng mga gamot ay pwede pong mabenepisyuhan ang mas nakararaming mga kababayan natin, lalo na po yung mga naghihirap.
Si Duterte, yan, sila Bongo, yan mga yan, pasiga-siga yung mga yan. Ngayon, pag wala na yan sa pwesto si Duterte, tignan nyo mark my words, hindi yan naharap ng ganito.
Tama naman siya doon. Kasi parang nagiging emotional ang issue on this.
I think it has to be established first before i-curtail mo yung freedom of expression ko, yung freedom for me to speak freely. No? I think there's no compelling reason right now to do that.